audio channels. Hello, everybody. How's it going? Welcome to Live Feature Rant, episode 15. Joining me today is Ara and Dygz. Now, both of these are awesome people, and you can tell because of our awesome hats. Um, now, and we all got our hats. Well, yeah, we all got our hats at different times.
Yeah.
I got mine at SOE Live last year for yelling DCUO to DCUO panel. Diggs got his at the Year of EverQuest event where I got to hang out with him and Tobran, and then the next day Pentapod and Tanlin and Kales from Evercast show. So that was a really good time. And Ara, you got yours pretty recently, didn't you?
Yeah. I just got mine when I was on Landmark Live, like a month ago? The
Yeah,
first week of beta. First
yeah,
week of beta, yeah.
it's totally awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool, cool. So, um, I wish I could just assume that everybody in chat knows who you two are, but just in case they don't, why don't I have you both introduce yourselves a little bit and kind of talk about your background with sandbox games, builders, EverQuest franchise, MMOs, all that sort of stuff. Era, why don't you start?
Well, just a little bit. Um, I don't have a ton. I'm kind of new to the EverQuest franchise, and I guess with Landmark now, they've kind of they've kind of departed a little bit from that. But, so instead of getting nostalgic about EQ1 and EQ2, I can get nostalgic about Alpha. Started Landmark in Alpha, and I started streaming it February 18th. I think it
Yep.
was my first stream. So, yeah, been hanging out on my channel.
Cat.
I get cat bombs.
Yes.
That is the theme. And by the way, I know apparently my camera is like super blurry for no apparent reason. Eh. But yeah. So we hang out at Era_gaming. Yeah.
Skype's trying to censor you because you're too awesome, I guess.
I guess. I guess that's what's up.
Well, you are pretty awesome. I mean, you said February 18th, and you've already
Yeah.
like grown by leaps and bounds. It's amazing. I mean, it's
Yeah.
you're not just having a good show, but you've had a really consistent schedule too, and that really helps for anybody who's trying to build a following. So, kudos to that. You've just been doing awesome with that.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, having a consistent schedule really, I think, has helped because then people kind of know when to expect me. And I am
Yeah.
punctual. Dang it! I was mad. My internet went down this morning. I was 10 minutes late, and I was frosted my Cheerios.
Cat. Oh well,
Oh,
that cat's awesome. It's just kind
she's
of
pretty.
kind of a beast. So Diggs, how about you? Your background with games and the franchise and all of that sort of stuff, and what you've been up to in the game.
I'm a little bit of a sleeper agent because I was actually working 4 days when EverQuest came out, and Jens Anderson, who's the creative director of DCUO, is the one who turned me on to EverQuest. You have to be playing this game. So let's see, EverQuest. I was hooked with the original EverQuest in the beginning just because it was the only thing that we had, and it wasn't as much of a gank fest as UO.
Oh yeah.
So I played. Everybody was playing UO, but I refused to play that because I wasn't into the ganking thing. And then EverQuest. The funny thing is, all of my coworkers around the time of EverQuest 2 and World of Warcraft, everybody else at the company was into World of Warcraft, and I was the only person saying, EverQuest 2, we have to play EverQuest 2. But EverQuest 2 actually is really laggy and a pain in the butt. So I played World of Warcraft with a group of people from work, and then World of Warcraft was just so easy that I pretty much dropped EverQuest 2 after like 2 months or something like that, and stuck with World of Warcraft. And so World of Warcraft, and I usually only play one game at a time, so I don't generally jump around between MMOs a lot. Once I got tired of World of Warcraft, I played Wizard 101 and Pirate 101. I just recently finished last year. It's really cool. So I finished last year Neverwinter. Uh,
Nice.
I started playing Neverwinter, uh, uh, maxed out, and then was playing through the test run of the new module. That got really boring. It's like, it's going to be the same old thing. I don't know why I'm going to keep playing this game at max and then having to do a bunch of repeat quests, which I hate. So I decided to check on what was happening with EverQuest Next, and I see this guy, and I'm like, I know this voice. I was watching the SOE Live YouTube, and I was like, who is this voice? And I know that face. Oh, that's my old boss. So it's kind of cool. It's really
That's
cool to
funny.
have Dave as the director of development for the whole franchise. That's
Yeah.
amazing. But on top of that, just EverQuest Next, that's going to be and Landmark. That's going to be a game changing
It
game,
is.
field changing game. I'm really looking forward to SOE Mode.
Yeah, SOE mode is going to be out. I mean, in EQ Next especially, I'm looking forward to it. And I doubt they'll put it in Planet Side 2, but maybe they'll give us some features to use SOE mode to at least create some actions and such for our characters. Because it'd be nice to be able to wave, or it's a, I believe, a mature audience's game, so flipping them off for various other physical gestures, that's totally appropriate. Um, ones that are at least like somewhat conservative and civil, not like toll on like squatting and shaking your booty in their face or whatever. That's, I think, a little overboard, but I don't know if SOE mode has that
What?
kind of fidelity either.
What? What do you mean? Dang it!
Well,
That was the strategy all along.
maybe EQ and X will have that kind of fidelity.
Oh,
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know if if PS2 will. Um, Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff to talk about. First off, real quick, Feather in a Bottle is awesome. You'll be able to win one of these potentially at the end of the show, because I'm just going to be doing one, no helicoptering, doing one giveaway at the end of the show, but you have to be following the channel like if Massima did. Thank you very much for following. Hey, Llama. Um, so the Feather in a
I still
Bottle.
just want the anklet. I
You,
don't think I
you still
care
don't
about
have
that.
one?
Still don't have an necklace?
Oh, I'll get you. Don't worry about it. After the show,
Yeah,
I got you.
was gonna say, we can do that.
Don't worry. I've got a few of those in reserve for the friends and special giveaways later on when they're super exclusive. Of course, they might not be because they're actually part of the quest thing, so anybody can really get them.
I might look back into that app just for that, but because I tried it back in August or September or whatever, it wasn't all that great. But I'll check it out since they said that it's been improved.
Gotcha. Okay. So, Feather in a Bottle, though, I definitely wanted to say it's the first ever item we have that goes in those 3 mystery spots.
Yes. As soon as I clicked it, I was like, "Wop!" Like, it's not. I thought for sure I was gonna have to like ditch my Mastercraft Racer again. I was like, no, but it goes on the left.
Yeah, it's awesome. Hey,
So
Tolmar.
yeah, there's no reason if you win it. There's absolutely no reason not to use it.
Yeah, at this point, it's pretty awesome, and with the now fully announced wipe, which we'll talk about a little bit later coming, it'll be nice to have first thing when you start back up afterward. So let's talk about that. That's kind of the giant Spooty Man-sized elephant in the room here. So they've just talked about the open beta wipe from closed beta. Now, a few weeks ago, they were kind of selling it as like, get into closed beta now, get a head start on your resources and stuff. And they've kind of changed their tune with things a little bit. Now, I could see people having kind of a knee-jerk reaction to the idea that, oh no, now it's, they've lied to us and blah blah. They're just, hi, who's priest? Hi, Cyril. Hey, Cyril. The idea that they've kind of screwed us over on this one, or falsified things. Now they're changing their tune. Um, I don't really look at it this way. Having worked
Yeah.
on games and stuff in the past, I kind of see it from a completely different way. They've got a necessary wipe they need to make at some point. They want to hold off as long as possible, but it has to happen. So instead of doing it at some arbitrary time, they're going to wait till the end of closed beta, so that way everybody will kind of start plus or minus fresh, and everybody will be able to work on the progression together. Now I say together because with the cave system and being able to have potentially longer and deeper veins, and needing people to defend you, um, it's going to be a group effort after closed beta is over when open beta starts. So it's a necessary wipe they're going to have made. They're going to be getting rid of all the legacy items. I've not really been talking about it that much. I actually do have one of the very rare few prime grapplers that still exists in the Landmark universe. Probably shouldn't, but Omid told me I should enjoy it while I have it, so I will. I'm not gonna say no to that. Um, so it's it's gonna be a thing. There's gonna be a wipe, and it's gonna be because they had to do it anyway. There's gonna be a lot of systems going in place between now and then that I'm sure will further facilitate the need for a wipe of that extent. Complete changes to the resource system. Right now, the proportions of materials you get from refining, especially work stone and wood and stuff, that can be completely changed between now and then. So they're just, trying to work the balance, and eventually we'll get there. But so what do you two think, Diggs? I'm gonna actually, Ari, you look like you're about to talk, so I'm.
Yeah. Okay, so I just feel like, first of all, it's beta. Part of what that word means is if stuff happens that wasn't maybe according to plan, or it's beta. Deal with it. But like it was what I mean, that's part of, we're testing the game. The point of beta is not just to give us early access. It's a perk, but that's not the point. We're supposed to be helping them out and kind of testing stuff, finding problems, and giving them feedback, which we've been doing, and we've been doing it well enough that initially I think it was pretty much it was semi-official, maybe not put in the FAQ, but it was pretty official, I think, at one point or another, that we'll let you keep your progression and items, and as a reward for being awesome alpha testers and beta testers, right? I think that was sort of the semi-official kind of position. And I remember thinking, wow, that's pretty bold, considering like how many systems they still have to roll out that are going to really fundamentally shake things up, right? I mean, anytime, like, and I say this without any real background in game design, but I can just imagine, in terms of, from coding I've done in the past, the second you start with something older and then start putting new on top of it, like, you're going to get issues. And the harder it is going to be to resolve those issues when you still have sort of older systems that are kind of lingering that you can never really get rid of. You can never, legacy items and such. That's just the tip of the iceberg, right? And so it's like, why would we want to discourage them from trying to give us the best performance they can? And yeah, I mean, that sucks I know there are a lot of people who worked really hard to get a legendary pick thinking, oh, I'll have it forever. And I feel for you. I feel for those people. I really do. But, in the long run, I mean, beta's only been in effect, what, a month? In the long run.
We're what, week 6 now? I can't.
Week 6, okay. But I mean, how?
7, excuse me, week 7 actually.
Week 7, okay. Well, it's the kind of thing where it's like, well, even if you've been working all 7 weeks, like, would you rather have had to wipe later into open beta and then, like, lose it later? You know what I mean? Like, at least
right.
You know now.
Yeah.
And they're not trying to keep it a secret.
Yeah. But I guess the one thing I ask for with all this, give us, like, way, way, way more template space. Because if the one thing we're going to keep is our templates, let us keep just an absolute gigantic, shitload of them. Like, just,
Yeah.
let us just template up and just max out. And some people might abuse it and have a bunch of messy stuff that does nothing. But people that are actually smart about it will be able to, have their masterpieces ready and be able to, basically start building their strategy for how they're going to get all the stuff to be able to get the materials and build them up again. Like, my tower is like 500,000 obsidian, it turns out. So that's a lot of material, and that's the top tier material as well, or a higher tier. So
On the
Diggs.
flip side,
Oh,
go ahead.
wait, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Dick.
I was gonna.
No, I was just gonna say on the flip side, they've said that creating items, crafting items is gonna take less resources in the future.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
so it won't be that the progression won't be that gnarly. But go ahead, Dick.
Yeah, that's the first thing I was going to say was that the tools should be quicker for us to get a hold of, so that shouldn't be really as much of a problem. I don't know. For me, the templates are kind of more important than the resources. I just want to be able to help newbies when the game starts. That's why I want the head start. So if I could have templates to help with that, and we'll have a few days, Trailblazers anyway, we'll have a few days for gathering resources to be able to hand over to newbies. But I just want to be able to craft some tools really quick, gather some resources, have some templates ready for newbies. I mean, we don't really need a ton of resources, I don't think. But more templates would definitely be good.
Well, it's also really hard to say the scale of resources we're actually going to need, because the tools might not take much, but that's not all it's going to be. We're also going to need weapons and armor and, potions and consumables and such. So that's also going to consume a lot of resources along the way, and not necessarily, hinder progression, but it's definitely one part of progression that players are going to have to factor for. Um,
I wasn't expecting to have a huge head start, though. Some
Right.
head start, but not like a massive head start. I mean, how much of a head start do we need?
Well, I think another thing is the Founder's Pickaxe is something that they actually are going to make relevant. So that'll be nice when they do, and it'll just be, start with the Founder's Pickaxe if you've got one, and just build that up through its upgrade progression, which might be different than the current progression. It might be like, tier blank Founder's Pickaxe, and then greater Founder's Pickaxe, and then a Masterwork Founder's Pickaxe, and then I don't know what the highest tier one would be, but pretty much that you would be able to go through the progression and only have to craft, the 6 iterations of that, rather than having to craft all of the different, the zigzag of tools back and forth between the pick and the axe, and the pick and the axe, and the pick and the axe, and the pick and the axe, to get all the way to the top. So that'll be a nice way for founders to be able to kind of leap forward. And the fact that open beta, I believe, will still have founders pack sales means people who really want it can still probably purchase those and have access to them. I don't know if founders packs will be shutting off then or not. No idea.
So what does that mean about progression? Progression will be what? So does that mean that that's weird, because we could upgrade our pickaxe, but we keep our pickaxe. So are we keeping the upgraded pickaxe?
No, we're gonna get the default Founder's Pickaxe restored to us. Everything's gonna be deleted, and they're gonna give us the default new versions of all of the items that we're supposed to have. I think the reason why everybody is choppy right now is because there's a really dense recording schedule, I think, on DVR for other people that watch TV in this house. So unfortunately, that might be eating all of the bandwidth. I really don't watch too much TV these days. There's like 2 or 3 shows I watch, and the rest of it's like, Landmark, and finding what procedural game I want to play next for my Saturday show, H1Z1 hype, and all sorts of fun stuff. Hanging out with streamers a lot of times too while I'm doing other stuff, which is a lot of fun. But anyway, getting back on the subject here. So yeah, I think the wipe, it'll be a really good thing for just the progression in general, and just actually having the sense that we're playing a game again. Because I can see it really being okay, the open beta's in, just everybody go for whatever, new recipes for new equipment didn't exist before, and let's all build our highest tier stuff immediately. I could see that definitely being an issue. Now, the reason why that's definitely not going to be possible, and I'm really, really happy about it, um, elementals. Elementals are the big thing. Elementals and Heartwood keep people from being able to jump through the progression because those aren't things you can just you can just buy off the market. You can get just the basic voxel versions of the materials, which can help, but it's having that discovery and having those high quality, the elemental stuff that really allows you to, get the real equipment going. So that's it'll be a good limit. Kitty cat. I could.
Yeah, kitty, sorry.
It's very pixelated, but I can see a happy kitty.
He's happy. Rare moment, but yeah. Is it coming up fuzzy for you too?
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. Both of you are fuzzy for me now, so it's definitely.
Dygz is fuzzy for me now too,
Yeah.
and he was perfectly clear before.
Damn. I wish there was some way I could adjust that. Damn you, Skype. And if I tried to hang up and redo it, you'd probably end up getting with your Windows reverse and then be all like weird for a moment.
Yeah.
All right. So, did anybody have anything else they want to say on wipes? Otherwise, there's plenty more to talk about.
I was just going to say real quick, I did notice in the patch notes today they did lower the requirements for a claim flag, which wasn't going to be relevant and suddenly is now that they've said they will be wiping, right? So we don't start with claim flags. And one of the things that founders had sort of an advantage for was they could immediately mine the iron you needed for claim flag, and the aquamarine as well. Well, now it's copper and I think agate, which, so now even the stone pick can deal with those, I believe.
Yeah.
So I believe they can do agate. So now everyone will be able, there's not going to be like an innate founders thing. Obviously, Trailblazers will still get the 2-day thing, which, chops it off. But, so that was just something I noticed. Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Good observation.
I'm not competitive, so that never bothers me. I'm not trying to be more uber than anybody else. So for me,
It's not just that. It's just because you have to get your flag down.
Yeah,
to
I'm
get
just
your
saying.
spot.
Yeah, but none of the competitive stuff I care about. So it doesn't bother me, but I know it will bother a lot of people. That's interesting.
And I think the land grab is going to be completely different than what it looks like right now. Right now, it's previously it was get something right by the spire, and that was top priority. Now it's get something right by the spire or get a really awesome piece of oceanside property. By the time the game comes around, it's going to be something by the spire, but not in a certain radius because they're going to be adding more stuff around the spire, so you're going to be further out, for one thing. For another thing, you're going to have people that are going to be wanting to set up near caves so they don't have to go as far to get to where they're actually doing the adventuring. And for another thing, we're not just going to be limited to oceans. There's going to be other bodies of dynamic water. There's actual dynamic water, rivers and stuff. So chances are a lot of people initially are going to prioritize for that dynamic water, because if they're actually going to allow us to sell a plot, land and everything for station cash potentially, then people could just go out and then hawk that land later when it's premium.
Well, and ley lines as well.
Oh,
which
yeah.
will make, so there's even that, if you're not after water, then there'll be additional hubs, so the spire won't be the be all end all.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly what Sog said. We don't know what the landscape will be like, and it might take days to find a spot of one. Yeah. By the way, we have a lot of folks in here who are streamers. Sog is one who is totally awesome. You should be watching him. He does a lot of tutorials. He's basically, I don't know, is Bob Ross still alive? Because if he's not, then Sog's the reincarnation. Because he is like super polite and really, really, really patient with everybody, and just does a great job explaining things. Just a great guy. So anyway, moving on to the next subject. any size, every shape. We can do whatever we want. You just make the selection size as big as you want. And what was the technique? Was it you select a shape, and then you shift click like you're gonna do a what's it called, a tweak mode placement, and it'll put the arrows in a funny place. But you can. Oh yeah, and I will be on the show tomorrow with Sog. We're gonna be working on Porosaurus Aquarium. So this, whatever shape it is that you've created, the arrows are going to be over on the side or wherever, but you'll have the shape there. You can drag it into position, and then you can create one that's just a little bit smaller if you want. Delete out the inside. With the sphere, it makes a really awesome honeycomb look. So it's really, really awesome, and I'm really excited to see the amazing things people are going to be able to do with this. Kitty sounds.
I'll be right back. She's kind of attacking me. So I'm going to put her in kitty jail because...
I can see that.
So I'll be right back.
Cat aggro. We call this cat aggro. Is the headset cord that long, or is it a wireless headset?
I think the giant sphere is going to be really cool. I think people had already been trying to, the giant domes, people had already been trying to make those, or wanting to make those.
Yeah. Domes, arches, all that sort of stuff. It's cylinders. The fact that it's as big as you can make a cube means you can stack 4 claims together and make a gigantic, you make your own little moon. You can make a Death Star.
Well, it has to be a square, but eventually...
Well, okay, you've got 70 by 70 by 100, or at least that was the initial dimension. So really the height is going to be the cap if you do a 4-way sort of thing like that. But yeah, you'll be able to make a gigantic sphere or whatever object it is. It is going to take... It's going to take so much material. You're probably going to need to have your entire inventory, your entire vault, and maybe 5 treasure chests full of just that material to be able to deposit it. But
Category.
What was that?
Go ahead. I was just going to say, category says if you don't make a perfect cube, you can get some interesting shapes. I didn't know that. That's
Ooh, nice.
All right.
That's really, really cool. 350, 350, 350. Awesome. Sango, good luck on that Death Star. If you need some help getting material, let us know. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Alright, so...
Was it Stackus that made the Tron?
Yeah.
Wonder if he'll try Death Star.
Yeah, well... I guess the fun thing with the Death Star would be then trying to do just little microvoxels guns everywhere, doing the trench run. Well, actually, it depends on which version you do, if you do the first one or the second one. But either way, pretty awesome.
Yeah, without the trench, but with a exhaust socket.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think it would be cool if I did the inside. Wouldn't that be neat? Because it'd be big enough. You probably, obviously not to scale, but you could probably figure something
You could put a few walkways without rails here and there, some control panels and
the tractor beam for
yes.
luminous beams.
There you go. That'd be pretty awesome. There we go.
That'd be cool.
For sure.
Make it happen.
Oh, wow. That'll just be awesome.
For sure.
Okay. Actually, I think the way you would have to do it is you have to deposit as much material in the world already and then do the sphere so it adds on to what's already there. Still be, a hell of a lot of material, but...
That's true. I didn't even think of that. I wonder how they would interact. If he was showing it in open air, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder how it plays, if it plays nicely with others, if it's kind of paced with air, or if it's more paced without air, or
yeah, that's true.
how it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Somebody's going to try to figure that stuff out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That's not me though. So
Yeah.
maybe someone. Canterbury seems to have some experience with this. Maybe Canterbury.
Felgon. Let Felgon figure it out so he can refine the tools in the process, or have
Yeah.
people on the team because he's. I don't know how much he actually refines the tools. He's a producer. I don't know how much they actually get into, the nitty gritty code sort of stuff, or if they're just more on the scripting side of things usually. But I don't know. I mean,
He's an associate producer, so he's probably not really doing any scripting. But yeah, I mean, he could find that stuff out. I don't think he'll be doing that personally, though.
No. Well, someone will. I bet Dave, as soon as he gets home, is just gonna be like, or maybe he already did that yesterday. Did the total testing session and just what can I build with this? Diggs, you're not fuzzy again anymore. I wonder, maybe Arrow will be able to
My mad
Maybe I'll
powers.
unfuzzified.
clarify.
Yes. Okay, so that's a really exciting feature. I'm really excited to see how. And then the other thing is, I would be worried about placing something like that where there's already other voxels, for fear that it might eat what's already in the world and not give you your resources back because it's still not fully implemented functionality. So that'd be something to, I guess, kind of take into consideration.
Yeah, but the nice thing is that now we know it's possible. So,
Hmm.
and they like it. So that's something they can work on to support.
Yeah.
Like
You know.
cylinders.
Exactly. And it might be a cool way to make our cylinders. We have to try. So,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'll be. I mean, if they actually had a cylinder shape, that would just be amazing because you'd be able to really mess with the proportions with something like that. But we'll see what they end up doing with that because it's still is it going to be a curved tool, a cylinder tool, or what's it going to be? So um, still no idea on that. So the caves have been pushed back a couple of weeks. They were kind of hoping to have them next week. It sounded like, but I guess they're going to be they had a little bit of delay. They're going to be out kind of showing it off next week anyway. So it's I'm guessing going to be on the 21st when they'll get caves in, and caves are going to come with a wipe. The reason for the wipe, and this is just claims. Nothing else is going to be lost. Just the claims will be templated and put in your overflow. That's all. You're not going to lose anything. But why they have to do this wipe is because if you're too close to the mouth of a cave, you're going to be within an interference range, and that's not allowed. So in order to make sure that's not possible, they're just uprooting everybody, and we'll be able to plop down new places when the caves come in. Not too big of a deal, really.
No, I mean, and honestly, the way I look at it is, well, maybe that means that. I mean, it kind of sounded to me on the live stream like they were kind of saying, well, putting it later means, well, it's not so much that things aren't working. It's more of we realized we needed to get some extra stuff in there to really make it right, which means more features, yay! So
Yeah.
it's really just like we're just gonna get a fuller picture when it's out. I'm really happy in general, which is sort of like I like the fact that they are willing to put stuff out that's not finished, like water. I mean, like doesn't have issues, yeah, but it's still pretty cool to be able to that we can build on beachfront without having to, like be like, oh wait though, we're gonna wait like 4 months to get it perfect, and you'll be able to swim and do all the things, but you won't see it for 4 months.
Yeah, no, it's definitely
same
better.
thing.
It also is better to roll it out because if there's bad features, broken features, it's better to smooth those out a little bit at a time. It's is it easier to build an entire brick wall and then ship it to where you're taking it, or send a few bricks and some cement at a time and build it up a little bit because it's just such a really difficult thing to implement a system like that, and to implement every single aspect of water because, as they've shown, it is multiple separate systems. Trying to do that all at once, it just sounds nightmarish, and it'd be one of those like just being in patch and downtime hell for like 2 or 3 days, sort of things like we've seen in the past. And nobody wants that, especially we think we don't want it. They're the ones working on the game. They really don't want it because it's not just demoralizing to have to stop and do that sort of thing and fix stuff, but it just eats so much time too, and that can be a real productivity killer. Thanks for the follow there.
Or imagine like if they didn't have a whole bunch of time between the release of Caves, the initial release of Caves, and then maybe Combat. Can you imagine all the crap that they might have to figure out? Like, I mean, I can just imagine like if from what they've said about combat and pathing and NPCs and all this stuff and AI, all that, on the surface, can you imagine how much more complicated it is when you add like caves that change? Like, like, can you imagine, like, what if they didn't, like, they need that extra buffer to, like, because dealing with those issues on top of just whatever issues they might encounter just implementing caves, like they need some buffer, need to be able to, walk then run, So it's going to be...
But that's the general design philosophy they're going through, because they're working under Scrum, which is so much better than it used to be back in the day. You introduce a little bit. That's why we get updates every week. So we get something small, relatively small, each week, and you test all of that stuff each week instead of waiting for a whole month to implement a whole feature set and then have to deal with all of that stuff for that. That's what pushback schedules back in the day.
I'm confused now because I thought they were doing Scrum before, but then they recently had talked about doing a system that isn't agile development, and it's been working well. But for me, I've always known Scrum to be kind of a way to implement agile, so I don't know if that was maybe just something they misspoke or if they're actually using a completely different development platform. But whatever it is, it seems like it's working out in a lot of ways. So
I'm pretty sure they're still using. I think they have their daily scrums, and again, they're using some form of it because we're getting modules implemented piecemeal.
Yeah.
And something new every week, so it's some form of Scrum. It might be a hybrid, but
could be. High level conversation right there. Right over the noggin.
Sorry.
I think I know what you're referencing. Because I've heard it in other contexts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've got to, but at the same time, I'm just like.
Just project like production methods and such.
Yeah, that's what I gathered, and I've heard it called something else. Like, but yeah, I got you.
Well, like there's various other ones, like Waterfall is another style of development. I'm not as familiar with that one. I've mostly done stuff. I want to say I've mostly worked with Scrum, but at the end of the day, most places where they used Scrum, it was just something like stuck to the bottom of the producer's shoe. It didn't really seem like it was working that well. And one place I was at, it was like a month after I was done there that they finally brought someone in to train everyone up and have their Scrum masters in charge of everything. So, oh well.
Such a dubious word. Or
What was that?
Never mind. Continue.
Are you talking about Burled?
No, I was just saying Scrum just sounds
Scrum, yeah, Scrum.
I'm just continue.
Yeah,
yeah. Let's just.
That's the sound that or the word that pops up when Batman punches a blob. Scrum. All right. So anyway, yeah, the caves being pushed back and the associated wipe. Did either of you have anything else you wanted to say on the subject?
Sounds good to me. I mean, it's not going to be pushed back that long. It seems like.
Yeah, no, it's and actually this would probably be a good transition. So we're going to be talking about the roadmap a little bit more.
Blueprint.
Excuse me. It's not a roadmap. PlanetSide 2 has a roadmap because they have tanks. We have a blueprint because we build things.
Is that what that is?
I don't know. I'm just making things up, but that's a
I
good way to
wondered,
remember
why
it.
are we rebranding from roadmap? What's wrong with roadmap? I don't get it. Oh, me, can you answer this? What's wrong with roadmap? Okay.
Yeah, no, that.
It's a Windows Phone thing.
Yeah, apparently.
Apparently.
Hilarious
just
hating
saying.
on that Windows Phone.
Just saying. Market share. Hi. Whatever. I'm gonna get a whole bunch of chat hate now, but it's okay. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Bring it.
My phone is a bird. You see, it flops.
I can't see it. Well, 30 seconds away.
Yeah,
I'll
you'll
laugh
see
when-
it. You'll see it, flapping like a bird or some other creature. Servers should be unlocked. Oh, I didn't know the servers were down. Is that why we had 80 people? I'd like to think it was because we're awesome, but
No, it's all that's fine.
yeah.
It's gonna keep on rising.
So, just rolling it back for a second. Last week we kind of talked about some of the stuff. So, Caves was kind of pushed back to second half of May, and that's definitely kind of still where it's at. It was first half of May before. And then Player Studio, Customer Service Tools, Crafty 2.0. There's a lot of stuff. I'm not gonna just list it all off. We're going ahead here. So July is gonna be kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal.
Yeah, cause
I have a feeling this game's gonna go bananas in July.
oh yeah,
Like bananas.
oh yeah.
Like, that's what I mean. How many people have you heard that are like, well, I'm into it, but I want to see come back? How many people have you heard that from? A lot.
A lot. And then beyond that, the I hate to phrase it this way, but this is how I've been calling it for years. The MMO Barbie factor, the fact that the wearable system will allow us to actually mix and match items and have different aesthetics. So being able to have the rope from the one costume and then maybe the pants from the Tech Commander's outfit or something like that, that's the sort of thing we could potentially be seeing. I don't know the extent of it. It should be really nice. But they're saying it also sets up the systems they need for armor. So it sounds like maybe there's going to be some amount of stuff where you've got equipment you've got the costume you're wearing and then armor pieces, and you can kind of selectively add and remove certain elements from that. Like maybe you just want the one shoulder pad and the mask removed on the helmet or something like that. And that'd be a really fun thing too, because people can have similar aesthetics but do it in various different ways. You can have people that they have their entire aesthetic look a certain way, and you can identify their captains and stuff by the type of helmet they have, or whether they're wearing a mask or anything, which is something I think about in like Space Marines and all sorts of other stuff. It's usually the captain or the commander that doesn't have the big old helmet on for whatever reason.
How cool would it be if we could like have a weathered option or something?
Yes.
Like where you could look all roughed up, like you've been through a little bit. How cool would that be?
That should be really fun.
Like a tint or something. I don't know. I don't know what that would be like mechanically, like how you could I don't know how you would implement that, but it seems cool.
Well, it seems like that seems like that's getting into crafting, and that could be done with relics or something like that. Hold on.
Yep.
Dog.
It's all good.
But I'm wondering if we're going to be able to have our founders' outfits split up.
I'm thinking that's going to be the case, and that's why I've always felt a little weird about the idea that they sold the different colors of outfits on the Player Studio for Station Cash early on, because it seemed to me like you would only need the one and you'd be able to dye or mix and match the pieces later on. So I don't know what's going to go on with that, if those folks have got some benefit or bonus for having all of those, if they bought more than one, or if it's just like oops, you couldn't have known sort of thing. Maybe some.
I'm kind of waiting. That's why I'm not buying a lot of outfits from
Yeah.
the marketplace yet.
I mean, the crafted outfits are great. I had the one that makes the guy look like a douchebag. I gave it to my buddy Ohio, so if you see him running around, you'll.
Could you tell us that?
I can't remember the name of it. I'll have to look in game again. I think it was like the the tailor's or
That's super.
crafter's outfit or something.
The which?
Like the tailor's outfit or the crafter's
Artisan?
outfit. Artisans, maybe that's the one.
Yeah. I think that's the one that makes you look like you're from, my God, Star Trek. It kind of right, and there's a red one, and you're like, I'm gonna die. Like,
I haven't seen the
right?
red one. It was the black one that I got. That it
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
not thinking it's the same one. Then maybe we're thinking I don't know.
I don't know. Oh, they're gonna have a lot more costumes, I'm sure now. Going into the future too, and potentially when Player Studio opens up, we'll be able to start doing a lot of that stuff too, which would be really nice.
You're,
Yeah. So, combat. There's a lot to combat, and
a little.
they've got some stuff listed. So, the kind of important things: pathing. Voxel worlds are really tricky. Thanks, Evil Effects. I was watching him earlier. He's got a real life founder's pickaxe he's working on. It's pretty cool. So yeah, voxel pathing and pathing in a procedural world is difficult. There's no two ways about it. The game 3089 I've been playing a bit, and I had the developer on my show a few weeks ago, and he was saying about that's one of the most difficult things because all the nuance and intricacies of going through and up all the ramps and following the character through. There's definitely a lot of challenges with that sort of stuff because you're programming an intelligent system. You aren't programming something that follows predetermined paths. So it's definitely a really challenging thing, especially if the creatures are going to have heroic movement of their own. Things that can burrow through voxels, so their way of movement is not go along the surface and run like the rest of us, but instead go underneath the surface, come up under us, do an attack, go back down, try to come out somewhere else and attack us again. So, all the different aspects of pathing, especially if that's something that can happen on somebody's claim or, up to the edge of a claim. So that should be really interesting to see. Just pathing itself is going to be amazing to have to work out.
One of my viewers pointed out, and it was one of the things where I didn't even. It's one of those. After I heard it, it seemed very obvious, but I didn't think of it. Which was like we've seen the Chomper in the past. That video. It's been up forever. And it didn't even occur to me that hey, it's an NPC that doesn't move.
Yeah.
Brilliant! Like, so that you don't have to deal with pathing, which, so you can have combat without pathing. Freaking brilliant.
Yeah.
I didn't think of that. I mean, that's pretty obvious now that, but...
Yeah,
That's
it's...
brilliant. I'm so excited for combat.
Yeah.
I really can't wait.
It'll be a lot of fun. I mean, that's
That's
actually... a few people have brought that up a few different times in a few different places that, the first enemies are going to be... static things that just kind of sit there, and that makes sense.
It'll be like chopping down trees. We'll be chopping the chopper, huh?
Yeah, well, actually, it looks like it eats you whole, so you might want to use some flaming arrows or something, or I don't know, a
Who knows?
magic
It could
wand.
have can you imagine if it had little vines, where it's like
Actually,
whipping them out, like Zyra style, what I'm talking about.
I actually that was one of the a character class that I wanted to have is a character that can kind of have weapons like that. But I wrote a document. I'll send that to you later. It's pretty cool. Dygz knows the one.
What if we grapple the chopper?
I don't know if it'll be grappleable, and grappling is one of the things they're going to have to work out with the combat system. If we go to them, if they go to us, if it's going to be a mass relationship thing where if they're always heavier, we always get grappled to them. If we're always heavier, they get grappled to us. Or if it's going to be more of like a relationship thing that we try to grapple them, and we both just kind of John Woo together in the middle of the grapple chain there, and then epic anime slash or whatever has to occur. Or jumping out. That's the other thing. You can jump off the grapple, and with a feather in a bottle, you can actually do a second jump off of the grapple jump, which is really awesome.
And if you grapple down and then do the jump,
Yep.
you can chain it really well. It really works well. with the light. Yes, this is the appropriate hand animation for or hand movement for indicating what I'm talking about. Like but it really works. I was trying that when I went to go check out water.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Also, I thought it looked like a new heroic movement. At least I hadn't noticed it before. It was like not just a side flip, not just like a forward flip. It was like a diagonal flip.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, I
like
think
a
I
barrel
saw
roll.
that. I think I
Right.
did see that. That might have been something else someone pointed out. I think it was Evil Effects who was pointing out on his stream. I don't remember really seeing stars in the past, but there's stars.
Nice.
So
Yeah, maybe it was just really hard to like initiate or something.
Yeah.
And now like with the feather anklet combo, maybe that's like made it just easier or something. Maybe
I don't know. I think it's just something maybe didn't have fully implemented in the day-night cycle, and now it is. But yeah, I never noticed them in the past. It looks like they are in the game now, so it's pretty cool.
nice.
So pathing is just one aspect of it, though. Before we move on, was there anything else either of you want to say on pathing? Okay.
Oh, just good friggin' luck.
Yeah, good luck. It'll be a lot of
Good luck.
fun.
I'm pulling for him. That would be hard.
Abilities is the next thing. Abilities you can craft and earn, as well as the necessary abilities for the monsters you'll face. So I keep on saying about I envision people having crazy combinations like you would see more in like a procedural roguelike game like Risk of Rain or The Binding of Isaac than you would see in a traditional MMO. Not that you're gonna, die and lose everything every life, but the idea that you're gonna have just such crazy diverse combinations. You're gonna have, potentially, let's say 200 items that you can mix and match, each with their different abilities and things that they add and things that they enhance, where it isn't necessarily a best practices sort of thing. It's which awesome thing do you want to do?
I was really hyped to see that in the blueprint because I apparently had completely the wrong impression about how combat like abilities were going to work. I kind of assumed it was going to be one weapon equals one ability. And that maybe the variety would come from different weapons. And that's it. I didn't think so. I was thinking, okay, well, more, I didn't think that would possibly even lend itself to more than half a dozen different types, or maybe more than that. But a much more limited. I got a much broader, or a sense of a much broader plan from the blueprint than what I had initially thought, which is pretty cool. Because I kind of assumed that would be. I mean, I still think it's probably my assumption is that's going to be one of the defining changes between, or a defining distinction between landmarks and next, because next being full blown MMO, the expectation there is complicated combat, right? Like that's kind of the lifeblood of MMO, right? Like of combat in MMO versus versus really simplifying it down. And so I was really interested to see the idea. Well, if we can craft and earn all these different abilities, then you would think that's just more variety than I expected to see.
But it still
I got
seems
really excited.
I'd want to ask what that means, because it still seems like abilities will be tied to the weapons, and that's what it means by crafting, right? You're crafting
maybe,
the weapons.
but I get the impression it's just going to be this is all impression based, but I mean, it feels like more variety than I was kind of expecting, and so I was just really excited to see that.
Well, I think it's going to be the weapon and its variation, and then all the other equipment and its variation on top of that. So maybe you've got a short range spear that you can't do like the throw and charge for as far of a distance, but instead it has like a fire and lightning effect on it. So you hit something and it just gets blasted by the elements. And likewise, you might use equipment with that further enhances your elemental damage and radius. So you might not be able to do the throw and charge sort of thing, but you just have to get up close to a group of enemies and just start whacking them, and they all explode in a radius near you. So that's that's the sort of thing versus having one that's more of a javelin that you're supposed to throw and do the charge and do it much longer distances. But the difference is you're getting most of the damage out of that charge. So the thing you're actually hitting with the spear doesn't do as much damage. It's all the charging through that you're doing and all the things you're hitting along the way and knocking them away and kind of helping your buddies and stuff. So that's just two very simple variations of one weapon. We could have 50 versions of the spear. Each.
Well, the other thing is just crafting different versions. If they all have stats similar to range, and I don't know what it could have that's the equivalent of discovery, but if you're throwing stuff further just by the stats on the weapon, and then you can have the stats on the items like the lunar anklet that extends whatever you're doing. All of that might be possible. Who knows?
Yeah. I guess I should say, I think I kind of worded poorly. I think I said poorly, like I'm doing right this second, but I talked poorly. I don't think I was very clear. I just meant my general impression from the diction, and that's it, was just sort of, I was assuming prior that we would see maybe like 10 to 12 like different abilities, and I just get the impression that that's on the low side now, and so it's just sort of exciting. So I'm just like, like.
They might start early, and actually, I would really appreciate it if they did it this way. Start early on with a small amount, and actually release things as seasons, basically. Not necessarily that things would be removed when that season is over, but that you get 3 months to try all of the equipment that exists and make all the masterful combinations and find the best practices, and then at that 3 month mark, all right, here's a whole bunch more awesome stuff. The next season has begun. Figure it out, folks. And that way they can really fine tune and balance. And honestly, I bet Omid would be really into that, because that's the sort of thing that trading cards games have done, and it works really well to limit the rate that combinations and things are coming out. And likewise, if something is too powerful and they need to nerf or retire it, doing it as a season change is a lot better, because people aren't going to be, bloody murder, this thing has been destroyed, whatever will we do? It's, oh my god, there's 30 more things to work with, hell yes.
So,
Yeah.
explain a little bit more about that, because one, I think they would do that in any case, kind of like they started with the what did they start with, axe, and then they went to, no, they started with the pick. They started with the pick, then they went to the axe, then they went to the sickle. So I expect to see some of that in any case, because even the sickle, we only have one. But they could also do that with stats and abilities if it's a season. So what were you thinking of in terms of, were you thinking of that in terms of them starting with 3 weapons or 1 weapon, but a season of ability types? How are you looking at that?
I would say probably also everything would be added seasonally. So we might start with like 8 or 12 weapons and variation skins. So you've got a crossbow or a pistol or a laser blaster, and that's one weapon. Or a sword, or basically a sword and a club. More or less they're the same swings, is the same kind of blade angle sort of stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that it's more or less the same thing, just a different skin, same animations. So that that actually allows them to simplify and not have to do as much work to get. And it could even be more like DCUO, where it isn't necessarily a specific weapon, but it's classes of weapon, like two-handed, dual wield, one hand are different classes of weapon, and then you might have dual axes or dual swords, or something like that. So there's various ways they can approach it, and I would say there really isn't a wrong way. But in terms of if they did a seasonal system and released things seasonally, it'd be some amount of like offensive ability, some amount of defensive abilities, some amount of weapons that have stats and abilities that weren't available before, or ranges, or attack areas that you didn't have before. but it wouldn't just be like one or two things, or it wouldn't just be the abilities. It would be everything, all the items you equip in all the different slots that you would be able to, and potentially even new runes and new things to upgrade and enhance, new enchantments and enhancements. So all of that stuff, if they did it in a seasonal system and released things every 2 months or every 3 months or however, it would give everyone the time to max out with everything in that season and get really good and really comfortable with that stuff. And then when the next season rolls out, being able to integrate all their knowledge from the previous season's equipment with all the new stuff, which will also allow everybody to make sure that, or the people that are going to be sticking with it, to make sure that they know all the combinations possible and have tried and tested everything, or at least, as much as possible. I'm sure there's going to be some spreadsheet website somewhere where someone can check off all the combinations that they've tried and can kind of rate them. So, that's millions of combinations.
Yeah. I mean, like, as a sort of a concrete example, which may or may not actually be in the game, but as something more more easily visualized. Like, I remember in an interview that I saw a couple weeks ago with Omid and Darren McPherson, the example was given of, like, say, two different spheres, and one of them maybe, I believe this is from memory, but it was, I believe, like, maybe you toss it out and it comes back and then, damages stuff in the way, and that would be, like, one version, versus another one that maybe you, like, toss it out and, like, you rush towards it and knock things back along your path kind of stuff. Like, and just, obviously one maybe being more aimed at DPS, as sort of aimed at, your max damage versus your more crowd control, like, parting the sea of mobs or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I think, I mean, like, I can almost imagine too, like, the sphere patch, like, where they introduce, like, all these, like, like 5 or 6 or whatever, I mean, insert, whatever the appropriate scale of it would be, but, introducing a whole bunch of different variations. Sphere.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that we'd probably expect to see more, like, beginning with 4 or 5 types. I don't think they're going to drop 8.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
I don't think
but,
so.
But the cool thing, I mean, I think we'll definitely get genres, like starting with fantasy and eventually moving up to sci-fi, the tech stuff, like they did with the Forge. But they'll probably be also adding stuff like, well, we'll already have relics, so we'll probably be able to do all of the upgrading and reinforcing and all that stuff with the initial ones. But they could add all kinds of different systems like they did with the relics. So I expect we'll be seeing something similar to what you're saying in any case, just by the way they've rolled everything else out.
Exciting.
Okay.
Start small and ramp up.
Exactly.
I would like to see skins for. I know this is way down the line, but how cool would it be to be able to, like, skin a weapon, like, in not just like a texture way, like in a way of like take a crossbow and it actually becomes a gun or becomes a blaster, or
and I think they're gonna actually have that sort of thing because I think they're gonna continue, like a lot of games have been doing, where you have your functional and your aesthetic sets. The functional is what you're wearing and your stats. The aesthetic is just your party costume that you're wearing everywhere. So even when you're in combat, they see the party costume, but that's not representative of your stats. Just the general gear that you're wearing.
I can see that very much becoming a thing, especially because Landmark already lends itself so well to, like, any kind of, like, role playing or like machinima or anything like that, where it's, appearance matters more than just just the mechanics of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I asked Terry at the Year of EverQuest event if we'll be able to craft a gun using and add spells to it. And he said we wouldn't be able to add our own combination of spells to a gun, but we would be able to take whatever spells a wand has and skin it as a gun, and we could skin the effects. But they want to be able to balance the combo of abilities.
Right.
So yeah, skinning seems like that's going to be a no-brainer.
Yeah, Sisal force appearance change is definitely something I know I've talked about it in previous live feature rant. The idea of being able to have, claims or entire servers where it forces you to be one specific genre. I could totally see that, and they could easily do it where if you don't have stuff that fits, it just sticks you with like a default, and then it's up to you to switch out to the aesthetic that you choose for that location. And that's
Oh, like
actually, they could even have multiple aesthetic tables. Like, you could have 8 different party outfits or whatever. I keep calling them party outfits. 8 different aesthetic equipment sets. And, they would just interchange as necessary for the areas that you're going to. Plus or minus some that you just have to select because there isn't a predefined region for them. Sorry, Ara, what were you going to say?
I don't know. Can't have been that important.
Okay. It's all good.
I don't know.
Okay, so that we definitely talked about abilities. So let's move on to physics. Remember that voxel world? Yeah, interaction that requires physics. So yeah, we will be able to blast out parts of the world. There's going to be destruction and devastation and people falling through into deeper areas and all of that sort of stuff. This is going to be a thing. There's potentially also going to be abilities where we're actually taking the raw voxels in the world and using them for our attacks or for our defenses, being able to create a stone cage around something. It's actually going to pull voxels from around the area and encapsulate them, or some really awesome anime style attack where you do whatever and it creates this giant force wave that leaves a like a wall of spikes in front of you, along with doing a kind of a burst damage in front. So that's definitely the sort of fun stuff they could do. That could be weapon specific, or that could be something that you use on an equipped or otherwise accessed item.
So what happens if we come up across a chomper
Hmm.
that can't move? I mean, it can't. It's not mobile, and we pulverize. I mean, with a gun, but we essentially pulverize the dirt below it, and it drops down to the bottom. It can't move. Would it? I mean, I assume it would try and chop the
Well,
dirt that's
it'll
nearby.
it'll do the exact same thing that trees do when you pulverize away the dirt below them.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So if they change that mechanic, the chomper will probably be changed too.
Well, no,
If
because
not, I mean, chomper also, we don't know how deep those roots go.
no, but if there's physics, then it should fall. We don't have physics yet.
But that's the thing, is that we get close enough, and it might just be root mass mixed with dirt, that we can maybe dig out the entire area around them, but there's just this floating island of it, and maybe that doesn't want to move. I don't know.
What if you like
Yeah,
expose
we
the
have-
legs and it starts to walk after you?
Now,
Yeah.
that could be cool.
Like the legs were actually just subterranean, and now you freed that sucker, and now it's coming for you.
They could do that, by the time they actually get all the combat physics stuff in, that could definitely be the case. Like, I already planned to just throw dynamite at them anyway.
Especially
Yeah.
once they introduce story brick. So if the story brick is checking to see if it's got dirt around the roots, and if not, then it wants to move. Story bricks could do that.
Of course, it could also, if you're trying to dig around it, it might have some way that it can burrow into the ground and try to get after you that way too. So,
Vine crawlers.
yeah, there's a lot of different ways it could, and maybe they'll add more to it. Maybe it'll have like the Zerg creep kind of thing. So the longer it's there, it's got this kind of radius where it can, stick things up through the ground after you. That would be a really cool mechanic. That would make them way more dangerous. That would just make them dangerous in general travel.
What if they had like a vine that they could like whip out and like pull you to them?
Yeah, no, that's that could definitely be troublesome. Okay, so yeah, and then there's plenty of other things. Maybe there will be the ability to smash part of like a cliff and have the rocks fall down on something below. That could be a way that you have to kill certain types of really powerful epic creatures in the world. That could be fun. I don't know what they're gonna do for that, but that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Or water. Drown them.
Or water, drown them. Yeah, if you can either lead them to water and stick them in it, or dig out the ground under them and they can't swim. But I think most creatures are going to be able to have the same like player level of epic movement, because they're not limited with simple AI pathing along the ground. The idea that there's creatures that will kind of do my monkey swing that I would do from Alpha, just go from object to object to object because the gears were grinding and that was the only way to get around. That sort of thing. I could see creatures
you gave
that
me
are
the shivers thinking of spiders. Like Spider-Man instead of man.
Yeah, the idea that you could just jump from object to object, or a creature could be doing that rather, that could be a really interesting kind of pathing, because instead of going directly where you are along the ground, it's kind of going step by step along objects in your proximity. So that could be interesting, and of course, with the physics system, if you know something like that's going on and you have some way that you can, I guess, kind of prepare for it and potentially knock down the tree that they're going to be on. And that's another thing. I don't know damage to trees, if it's going to be different from combat versus using a harvesting tool. If it's going to be the same kind of thing like a pulverizer where it just damages it but you don't collect anything, or if trees will actually be damaged by weapons whatsoever.
How cool would it be if so what if you could bounce attacks off of a surface?
Ooh.
Like certain attacks.
Yeah,
What if you
ricochets,
could
yeah.
like a cue ball, where you just right? And then math nerds everywhere who know their geometry are suddenly at this total advantage because they're just I understand what's in front of me. I know the lay of this land, and they could just how cool would that be?
The what was it, Gemini laser from Mega Man 3 did that. Bounces around from surface to surface. Yeah, that would be awesome. That could be, and actually that's something that's getting into some real gnarly sci-fi sort of stuff that I've seen in role playing, where you actually a laser sniper will actually set up a mirror in one place, and when someone gets through, they fire on the mirror, it reflects off and blasts their target.
Or it just seems like it would actually be I don't know, because obviously we haven't seen what they kind of plan in terms of the mechanics of projectiles. I mean, they have that as a separate thing, but which is kind of the territory that would be in, right? Right. But they did show in the H1Z1 podcast. Remember the where they broke it down? You could see the wire. It was the wire frame for the projectile that almost the path that it would travel along.
Yeah.
I mean, it would seem, if it's even remotely similar.
It's Forge Light Engine, and it comes
right?
all of it comes from the lineage of PlanetSide 2 at this point. So the idea that there's realistic bullet physics either in the game or modules that they could just kind of yank and stuff in the game, it's totally reasonable if it isn't already something that they've already been trying to implement, because they aren't waiting until halfway through June before they start on the combat system. It's been a work in progress probably since SOE Live. So I don't know where they're at with it, but that seems like the sort of system they would have in the game, or with the testing with it right now.
Yeah, just a thought. It's one of those obviously that's patch million, but it's just the kind of thing where it's just hey, eventually that could be extra cool. I don't know. It just, yeah.
Combat is going to be simple compared to Next, so that's something I might more expect to see in Next. But hey, we can dream.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I mean,
that's totally fair.
Saying that combat's going to be simple compared to Next, there's some amount of that I believe, and there's some amount of that I'm No, you failed to understand and realize the creativity of us players and our ability to make amazing encounters. There's gonna be us, players in the community, maybe not even people we have right now, but
The microvoxels of combat. I
yeah,
got you.
exactly. That it's gonna be the thing where you go to this place not because it's easy to get a lot of loot, but because it's difficult and you need a team and it's really challenging and like you really feel like it's an actual battle that it's an achievement to win. And maybe we will be able to have achievements we can give people for winning a certain encounter on our claim.
Yeah.
Tereus, you've got to have more creativity than that. I've seen it. You have a voxel dragon that'd be pretty awesome. I don't know how that would work for enemy. Actually, that'd be great. Just having a voxel dragon that just it shoots fire everywhere. Not necessarily from any specific like a mouth or anything. It just you're kind of walking around it, attacking it with your pulverizer, and just fire gets shot at you every now and then.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. By the way, folks, if you haven't seen Terrarius working, his stuff is awesome. Definitely check him out. Uh, yeah. So we do we have anything else that we want to talk about with physics? Otherwise, targeting is the next one. Targeting both monsters and players, many different systems. A lot of
I'm confused by the many different systems. Doesn't seem like there should be many ways to target
Well,
in the
it's
same
just,
game,
I mean,
but that's interesting.
I'm picturing from the interviews I've seen and from the descriptions I've seen, it kind of the combat reminds me a lot of what I saw from Neverwinter, where it was very where it's all basically almost everything's a skill shot, where it's very little of you target and then your mouse is free, you know what I mean, or you tab and your mouse is free. Like
Right,
they specifically
but
mentioned, there's no tab targeting, which means
Right.
so there's no, but there,
So
but then you need
Neverwinter
a
did,
separate system for AI because
but
they have
Neverwinter didn't have many different systems of targeting. So
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what many means. That's intriguing.
So I can think of just three off the top of my head. One is, and these are all ones that can be in the system. One is just kind of random attack, and this is not necessarily something that you'd want to be using too much, but you press a button and it just lobs something in the general direction of whatever enemy is potentially nearby. Maybe it hits, maybe it bounces back and explodes in your face. Something that's maybe a little bit more concrete of like a not necessarily lock-on system, AFL gun. I thought I already modded you. Oh, FL gun SOE. Anyway, so the second system, like a total concrete lock-on system, where if you have an attack, say it's a one that shoots fireballs or a rocket launcher, you're actually you're designating a target, and it will try to path to that target as best as possible. Or maybe it'll have variation, like maybe it'll shoot way up in the sky and then try to come down on the target. That could be a variation on the rocket launcher. And then the third would be more of like a area attack, like a radial arc sort of thing. You get close, and then you know that this attack is going to be a 30-degree radius in front of you, versus a different attack is just going to be straightforward, but it's going to have a lot more range to it, potentially be faster. So so that's going to be what I would kind of see as the three different things. One is like a non-specific targeting, specific targeting, and then area of effect, whether they're there or not. So that's three different systems that can be within the game, and they each have their different places and why they would work and where they would work, and not necessarily just for players, also for monsters. I could see there being monsters that they're blind and all they do is just like spew green stuff everywhere. And actually, that's a creature from the Binding of Isaac. But that's the sort of stuff I could see. It's just a something that you get close and it just starts blasting the area around, and it's just a really dangerous kind of trap enemy.
Yeah, I mean, like, I figure there's probably going to be different systems that need to cover different types of attacks you can execute as a player, but then the AI also needs to, there's programming, and that's kind of a targeting system too, like how they do their attacks, and then layering on top of that how it responds to how the targeting integrates with, the fact that the environment is dynamic and doesn't have to be the same from second to second. You might throw up a wall, whatever. So, I mean, just from the player side and then the AI side, and, I think that's where the system might come in. I don't know. That was my interpretation.
Yeah. So, Dygz, now, what are you kind of feeling on the targeting now that we've talked about it a little bit here?
I really have no clue. I keep thinking of targeting as
Tab targeting?
I don't know, the different. No. I hope not. Somebody was saying that there was a forum thread about tab targeting and how that would be fun, and it's possible for Landmark, but I hope it's not in Landmark. I mean, I'm looking forward to what I saw demoed at SOE Live. So I kind of like the red circles, especially if you have different variations of the red circles, so that it's not just the same. You have to actually think about where you're moving to, which I expect to see since there's a movement system for EQ Next. But for Landmark, I really don't know. I mean, it's kind of up for grabs, so I'm just interested to see what they do.
I'd be very shocked if we saw tab targeting in this game.
I hope
just
not.
based on every interview, every demo, everything we've seen, I would be shocked.
I would much more expect a crosshair than tab targeting at this point.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so that's enough on targeting.
Oh,
what you got?
But the intriguing part about what you said to me is what does it mean, kind of like what Ara said too, for bouncing stuff off walls. So if I'm trying to and the pool table effect, think about how that would look. So if you want to bounce something off a wall, if you have like you said, like some kind of gun or a wand, and you want to beam it so that it's going to hit off the wall and the projectile from the wall is going to hit your target, would we have targeting to help with that?
I don't know. It's just, I bet not. but that's one of those, like, I mean, that's sort of wouldn't it be great if, I have no idea if there would actually, if the mechanic, if the infrastructure exists to support that kind of thing. But how cool would that be? Just basically cue ball up,
it's a game changer because we've got, terrain and buildings that are going to be interacting with what we're doing, and if we want to set that stuff up, having targeting for that would be nice, for sure.
Or
in the future.
Oh my God, I mean, that lets you shoot around corners. Whoa! Just like, what? That would be crazy.
Yeah.
It would be convenient if we had help with the target.
Yeah.
It would.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how it all works out, and what the ranges are and such. Because, I mean, it might be very much a close range game. It might be very much a long range game. And maybe a spot something at long range, dash towards it and get close, and that's when the battle begins, sort of thing. It's really hard to say right now. It'll be really nice to see when we start getting those features in, though. I'm looking forward to it. So, projectiles. Projectiles are completely separate from melee, so that's just kind of saying there that maybe melee is going to be in first, and then projectile weapons will be introduced later, which makes sense.
Yeah.
They're both in July, so I mean,
yeah,
that 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 doesn't mean
Yeah,
a
I
lot of
mean,
things.
it could all come at the same time. It could be a staggered sort of thing. Who
Just
knows?
maybe that just made me think of I this kind of the presentation in the blueprint of the way combat was presented. That's redundant. Whatever. In it was very different from kind of what I had thought before. I don't know if it changed or so. I was just wrong before, but I thought it was going to be very like super basic in the beginning, like super like you has a sword, do this, the thing will probably die, like you know what I mean, like super like as simple as it gets, right?
When
And then
Terry,
later, like introducing all of the extra. Okay, now we can like have a couple options, and now like things will be a little smarter in how they try to kill you,
Right.
and like you know what I mean. But and maybe that's still how it is. They're just condensing it into a month. I mean, a month is still a lot of time, and well, not. But I mean, I don't know. But I was very interested to see that because I sure thought, you know, oh man, beta, all we're gonna see is literally like, and that's it. You know, like whack whack whack, and that's all you got,
Yeah.
right? You
Stick
know,
does
and
1 damage. Enemy has 3 health. You have 3
exactly.
health. Try not to get hit 3 times when you hit it 3 times.
Exactly. I totally thought that that's where it was going to kind of start. I mean, which that's the most basic form, right? I mean, it's, you know, sort of, it would be certainly the easiest to, you know, you debug that and then you move on, right? But I was very interested to see, wow, you know, it seems actually a lot more comprehensive in the beginning than I ever expected.
Well, the fact that our first enemy is a piranha plant, I figured we'd get like fire flowers or something to deal with it, but you know, I'm not really sure what they've got planned. But if you see a red chomper out in the world, run. Just don't even. Just get the hell out of there, because it is going to light you up.
when
Time
Terry
to free
first
those
mentioned
legs. I'm telling you, just come trotting after you and be like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Like, how shocked would you be?
That would be awesome.
It'd be pretty good. Or it's like a random chant. And this thing's gonna be like, screw this, and just like unroot itself and like come after you.
Well, it'd have to be a story bricks thing to just, you know, up and do that. If you
Like,
maybe
yeah.
walked through a certain type of plant before that it really, really likes, that it's just, you know, it's attracted to you or whatever, and then it's chasing you, then the motivation isn't a combat sort of thing. It's, oh my goodness, this awesome smelling thing, I must have it, and you know, it's just chasing you. You don't know it's gonna try to give you a hug or whatever. It might try to eat you or whatever, but you know, it's
Well,
there.
it's a survival mechanism. Like,
Yeah.
it's so low on its nutrients, but it's, you know, it's just like, I'm desperate, man. I'm uprooting. Screw water. I'm going. You
Yeah.
know, like I need to. Yeah, I don't know. I just it's
Be interesting to see how it's gonna.
just a funny visual image of just like this plant just be like, screw this. You know. Yeah.
Or a different version like Fields of Tiny Chompers that just do little damage, but you know, you can't quite fight them the same way.
Yeah.
Just, you know, biting at your ankles.
Yeah. Ow.
Yeah, so I mean, projectiles will get in when they get in. It'll be nice when they do. So monsters and loot, of course, that's the last item on the list. Of course, you know, last but not least, there's no PvE without enemies, and little reason to endanger yourself without loot. So there's loot. There's going to be loot. We don't know the extent. We don't know really anything about combat loot, crafting versus whole items with combat loot. If you're going to be getting exclusive items that you don't get anywhere else in the world, and that's how you can make some of this stuff. There's so much we just don't know. For all we know, they've got kind of like a pseudo Star Wars Galaxy style crafting system where you can get various different types of plant material and use that for one part of whatever potion or item you're crafting, and it'll come out with different stats and different effects. You're Iron Man, huh?
He asked. Yes, if it's a necklace, it's my hole. It's the hole in my chest where my reactor goes. Reactor. So he feeds it. That's how we work.
There's a cure now, Ara. That's a roll. Diggs, were you just about to say something on Monsters and Loot? I thought you were about to.
I was gonna say when I first talked to Terry. No, when Terry first talked about combat, he mentioned that it was gonna be simple in comparison to EverQuest Next, but he always kind of made it seem that that was just a. It wasn't actually going to be simple or basic. It was just going to be, you know, when compared to Next, it's not going to be as robust as that. So
I suppose with the whole rallying calls and entire like wars being surrounded around those, we're probably not going to see that in Landmark. So I could see, the large scale battles being the mechanic that we see more of in Next and less of in Landmark.
no, I just meant the combat mechanics. The way he phrased it when he first mentioned it, he mentioned that it's going to be tied to weapons and blah blah blah. So it's not going to be the range of abilities that we have isn't going to be as great as Next.
Yeah.
But he always kind of made it sound like that he was like he didn't even really want to use the phrase simple, the word simple, because that wasn't meaning simple or really basic. It's just in comparison to Next. So it's cool to see this. I definitely am intrigued.
Okay. So, is there anything else either of you wanted to say on the system? Otherwise, there's still a lot more to cover in the blueprint here, and there's only about 18 minutes. So
Got a pair of track shoes on. Yeah, that's deal.
All right. So SOE mode. I don't think we need to talk about that too much. I mean, we know what it's going to be. If you want to know what SOE mode is, look at the videos they've done previously. Look at EverQuest 2. It's already out there. It's already a system they have implemented in one of their properties, and it's awesome. It's totally awesome. And the reason why they designed the characters in the full big facial features kind of way is so that way you can see them emote from further away. So, further playing into SOE mode. It'll be great.
Yep.
Alright. Next subject?
Yep.
Okie dokie. Above level seawater. So, July is when we're actually going to start seeing ponds and lakes and other sorts of stuff like that. But this still doesn't necessarily mean dynamic water. That doesn't mean things will be flowing. Those will be just the inland bodies of water that they're going to be able to generate and stick in the world. SO emotes in EQ1? I don't know. Probably. I don't play EQ1. Someone confirm, please. I'm sure somebody in the audience plays. But anyway, yeah, so that's it for July. So July is mostly combat and some SOE mode, which I'm sure some of the animation systems and stuff maybe are tied together, and that's why it's taken until then for SOE mode to go in. Or SOE mode, something they could even push back later because it's really not an integral system to gameplay. It's mostly a role-playing and communicating thing. But I'm sure, the sooner people can start making machinima, the better it'll be for the game because people are going to love it.
Yes.
That's what I'm looking forward to most. So instead of building, I've been wanting to make machinima, but I can wait.
It gets there, that stuff is going to be really nice, and I'm really looking forward to what we're going to have available for machinima. And the fact that you're interested and really excited for it, I'm excited to see what you're going to do because I'm sure it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
My IMDb credits are for voiceovers in video games, so I'm just chomping at the bit to start.
Yeah. You and Trendane are a couple of awesome voice actors in our community here.
And I'm working on a script for both of us, so
nice.
Ooh.
That's totally awesome.
Ooh. That's awesome.
You heard it here, folks. You heard it here first, rather. Well, you heard it here first, folks. There.
Gosh.
You heard it here first, folks. There we go.
Wow.
Well, there's a rule in comedy: repeat until funny.
Yeah.
So August, building tool refinements, and that's this is August is going kind of out there, so it's kind of vague what we've got at that point. Building tool refinements, and that's I'm looking forward to more than anything, more than like a curve tool or a cylinder sort of thing. The line tool, I want to see some love, because that thing, I can create a straight line, got the double green, and it creates artifacting somewhere on the line or somewhere at the weld points. And it's unfortunate because it means if you're using the line tool, you either have to expect artifacting and find a way to deal with it, or understand it's just going to be a part of the build. Sometimes it isn't a problem. Sometimes you're making something large enough that you can like smooth it over or do other things to kind of fix it up. But at the same time, I keep saying that I want a sharpen tool that allows us to just kind of put things back in order, back in alignment, kind of where they should be, so it everything looks normal. All the there's no artifacting done after you've gone over the tool like that. Things where it's kind of broken up and jaggedy, it'll make it make all the welds secure and nice. I'd really love to have a tool like that, and that would be great to have somewhere down the road.
I mean, at some point on one of the live streams, it's been a long time now, but on one of the live streams, they did reference the artifacting on the line tool as a bug, which, and so if it's a bug, then presumably it's got a fix, so rather than like, you have to work with it a lot to really get it to look right, and it's super powerful. I mean, like, you can move mountains with that, not really, but you can do a lot with it. You can actually you need a shovel and a pulverizer, but like, it's just, it takes so much work after that. Usually there's an easier way.
Right. Yeah, and most of the time, unless I'm doing some really weird sort of thing, I'll just use the selection tool to make whatever kind of line I need. It's simple enough, it really is. And because a lot of times if I'm doing something where I want to make like stair steps or something where there's a lot of them, selection tool is nice, because then you can just hold shift, move the selection area, do it again, do it again, do it again. It's really, really convenient.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So any other tool improvements or tools in general that you folks would be looking for?
I was just glad to hear that they're gonna make the sizes in the brushes smoother, so it's not just jumping in increments of size from 3 to 5 to 8 or whatever.
Yeah, there's right now the 1, 2, 3, 4 scale or the 1, 3, 6, 12 scale. So it'll be nice to have that extra level of detail, because I understand the whole Minecraft players might not want to build anything off grid. I get that. It's really not that hard to work with the tools and just have access to everything, though. And it also saves a lot of time to just be able to put it down for the size that you need, rather than, I mean, there's some things you really can't do that same kind of way, like those weird chamfered corners and stuff. You really can't do those, like build a 5x5 version from scratch, not with any amount of ease.
Yeah, it's a lot of manual, like voxel by voxel copy and paste in order
Yeah.
to get something like that.
Yeah, so being able to have, not just for the cube and the sphere, but just all of the shapes, having that level of fidelity will be really, really nice.
Yeah. I want to see the smooth tool get some love. I mean, it's already gotten some, but I'd like to take it more. I'd like to be able to see it have just the steps back. I mean, it was really nice to be able to just a little tiny bit smooth and then a little tiny bit more smooth, rather than just like, hitting it with a hammer, just like, knocking out all of the lines.
And the inverse is also what we need, an additive tool rather than a subtractive smooth tool, so we can actually deposit material on an area or build something back up. Why add snow to stone and then try to smooth and melt it down and hope you don't get through the stone, when you could instead have your stone building and then you're basically spray painting snow on it. It would make so much more sense. It would work so much better, and all the welds that would be created would potentially be a lot smoother. So that's something, and that's actually something I was talking with my buddy Ohio about, I think yesterday or the day before, having a spray paint type tool where you can just, add kind of a random field in an area rather than having it just cover the entire area at once, so someone can do different types of effects when they're painting and such, and
And it's not
potentially
just
adding.
that. It's not just that. It's not even sort of a spray paint effect. It's more of like, well, I mean, I guess in addition, not more of, but like I never realized how awesome that would be until I tried to terraform a hill, create a hill where there wasn't one. It's not too bad to get rid of something, but if you're trying to build up a hill, like I resorted to basically voxel by voxel adding and then smoothing at the end to get the best result. That took a long time versus something like if I could just add gradually, just like, and have it gradually build up and just do bits so that it would do it smoothly. Almost like a mesh editing, but I mean, which obviously that probably wouldn't work in something that's voxel based. But I mean, I don't know.
There's
But
actually a
it's
really
so
dirty
wonderful.
trick to build up terrain like that. You actually copy terrain that already exists and just paste it selectively, because you can actually copy the dirt voxels,
You
and
have to
even
paint
if,
it first, right?
yeah, even if you can't use them as is, you can paint over them and then use them in that way. So
Brilliant.
yeah, it's really easy to be able to work with that sort of thing.
That's a great tip. I could totally do that.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. It's just why terraform when you can just terra paste.
True. That's actually a really great point. I hadn't thought of that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, just painting on natural surfaces. At some point, I want to do like just a mountain of some crappy material, like just a giant copper mountain or something standing out in the distance. Big old thing on the map, just for the hell of it. Do it for like a week and then recover all the materials.
Yeah.
That'd be a lot of fun, though. Or actually painting smooth stone, smooth polished granite on mountains that exist. It basically turns them into like bright reflective mountain ranges. It's really awesome. Do not try
Shiny.
to fly an airplane or a helicopter through that. You will not make it.
Yeah.
Okay, so continuing along here. Mounts! Horses are the first goal, and I'm thinking to myself, you can't grapple on a horse. That's silly. Why would I want a horse?
Horses have heroic movement too.
They do. They will have heroic
Parkour.
movement.
They have parkour.
They will. They will be able to. And actually, I'd want to have a goat to be able to really, mountain goats are awesome with that sort of stuff. They can get up just about on anything. Like a mountain goat, I think, is like one of my two ideal mounts. The other one is a gorilla, because a gorilla has basically got the same heroic movement that the players are going to have. It's just rippling with muscle and just going to be leaping and bounding everywhere like a giant heroic gorilla.
Oh my
So like
That would be a pretty big gorilla.
it would be a big gorilla, and that would be totally awesome. Like just
Wow.
Kool-Aid Man through trees and walls and stuff. Don't even worry about those voxels. Or I guess another one would be like a rhinoceros that once again, just destroy everything in the path. Don't worry about it.
I wonder how fast a mount would be to make it worth whipping out a mount rather than just grappling.
It would have to be really fast, because right now you can get your run speed up to about 20 from the default 10, and you go super fast like that. A mount would have to be, and then the other thing, a mount would actually have to have certain considerations where not as much stuff would draw in certain areas, because you're going to be moving so fast, you're just going to be grinding gears everywhere. Yep. So that can't be a thing. So they'll definitely have to. It'll probably be extra considerations and like level of detail and ranges and stuff when you actually get on. Maybe there'll even be a speed blur to further help some of the low res and level of detail in the distance, which would be smart.
That would be smart. That would actually be really. Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's just putting the ideas out there.
Especially if you could toggle it off. That way, if like people are like, yeah, but I want to PvP, and like and they want to like, I say that like I totally want to PvP too, but like but that way you can see if someone is approaching the distance from in your peripheral vision. It's not blurred out like if your computer can handle it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, anything else on mounts?
Mounts
Either
are
of
cool.
you?
I want mounts.
All right.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about types. There's going to be mounts in the marketplace. What is that thing called now? Is that the gallery?
Showcase.
Showcase. The showcase. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, mounts are always good. I want pets, but that's all the way at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one got dropped off the blueprint, didn't it? Where they said that's kind of a, like they
Oh,
said several things did where it's not so much an indicator that they're not going to do it or that's going to be
Right.
after. It's just going to be like that it's a smaller system. So
it'll get there when it gets there.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Then dynamic water is the last thing we have on the list here. So flowing water, buckets, voxelized, dams and stuff like that, and all that sort of fun stuff.
I think based on how water's looking now in the game, I think that's going to be mind blowing because it already looks really good. But to see it really getting into flow patterns and stuff like that, I think it's going to be fantastic.
Water, lava, buckets. Sounds good to me.
Well, I hope we see lava before dynamic water, because lava doesn't, just static lava. Maybe around the same time we see like lakes and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I mean, I would think maybe other than viscosity, like seems about the same. I don't
Yeah,
know. That's my expert opinion. I don't know.
Should be.
But, yeah.
Ice. We already have ice. Why can't we have lava?
Yeah, Felgon, that fluid building is awesome. I totally want to do something like that. My brother was hanging around, so I showed them that real quick. He seems like he wants to play Landmark now. just for that, just to make a water building, because that looked so awesome. It really looked like ghostly and ethereal. That was what made it so cool.
Almost like stealth, like how so many games portray like stealthed things,
Yeah.
where they're all like warbly,
Yes, warbly warbly indeed.
I was thinking fairy. I hadn't thought about stealth. That's kind of cool.
However, or Jello. It could also just be a giant Jello structure.
Yeah.
Or excuse
they
me,
said that was gonna
jelly, because Jello is litigious. Actually, I don't really know if it matters for a live stream.
No. That they said they were gonna patch that out though. That it was a bug, right? Because you could do such cool things with that.
It might be a bug now. It might be a feature later. Just we'll wait and see on that. That could be a really awesome thing that they'll actually implement as a feature later on. Oh no!
What's up?
It just dropped Dygz. Gelatinous Cube,
Oh.
yes, we've talked about those in the past. The Gelatinous Cube ends many people's D&D runs.
No.
Wow, technical difficulties at the end of the show. No, Skype, why couldn't you wait 2 more minutes?
Seriously.
Yeah. So anyway, folks, the show's going to be wrapping up here pretty soon, and when it does, first I'm going to do a giveaway, and then we're going to do a raid. So stick around for both of those. We'll see if we can get Dygz back in here for the last little bit, but his internet might have gone out or something. But in any case, this has been Live Feature Rant, episode 15. I am your host, Legendary Neurotoxin. Over here on the left side of the screen is Ara, and over on the right side of the screen is the avatar that Dygz uses, because unfortunately he's just gotten dropped off at the very end here, and I don't know why. Oh, wait, here we go. Wait.
Back? Yeah. Oh, there we go.
He's back!
Rescued
There we
from
go.
the brink.
Welcome back. Alright. So, let me do that one more time. This has been Live Feature Rant, episode 15. I am your host, Legendary Neurotoxin. Over on the left of the screen here, Ara. Definitely give her a follow. She does a lot of streaming. Dygz over here on the right. Not as much of a streamer, but somebody who is very, very active in the community. You'll see him on forums, you'll see him in chat rooms, you'll see him in the game. Definitely somebody else to be friends with here, especially if you like Machinima, because he's got some stuff going on, some stuff cooking. Thank you for the follow there. Sorry I didn't catch who that was. I appreciate it. And so that's it for the show. I will. I will see you folks later. You have a good one. I'm gonna do that giveaway, and then we're gonna do a raid, but that's gonna go after the camera's done. So, putting up the last little slide here, and I'm cutting the mics, and thank you very much.